Welcome back to Clear Talk English, the place where stories are not just told, they are experienced. Today, I am going to take you on a journey through the life of a man whose thoughts change the way we see the universe. Imagine you are sitting under a quiet apple tree, feeling the breeze, when suddenly something drops from above and sparks an idea so big it will change the course of human history. That is the kind of mind we are about to explore. This is not just history. This is inspiration, curiosity, and determination wrapped into one human life. So, sit back, relax, and listen closely, because every detail in this story might just spark the genius inside you. Isaac Newton was born in a small village in England during a cold winter's night. The world at that time was filled with mysteries. Storms came and went without explanation, the stars twinkled without clear reason, and people accepted many natural events as magic or divine acts. Newton entered this world as a fragile child. In fact, people thought he might not even survive his first days. But fate had different plans. His father had passed away before he was born, and his mother remarried when he was still a toddler, leaving him in the care of his grandmother. This early separation made young Isaac quiet, observant, and deeply thoughtful. While other children ran around the fields, Isaac preferred to watch the swaying of the branches, the crawling of ants, the movement of clouds across the sky. Everything seemed to speak to him in a silent language only he could hear. In school, Newton was not immediately seen as a genius. At first, his performance was average, but one incident changed that. A fellow student once mocked him for his lack of skill, and instead of responding with anger, Isaac decided to challenge him in the best way he knew, through excellence. He began studying harder than ever, reading every book he could get his hands on. Slowly, he rose to the top of his class. What set Newton apart was his hunger to understand why things happened. While other students memorized facts, he wanted reasons. Why does water flow downhill? Why do objects fall? Why does the moon not fall onto Earth? His teachers noticed his deep questions, but many could not answer them. This only fueled his desire to find answers himself. As a teenager, Newton went to Cambridge University. There he was introduced to mathematics, astronomy, and natural philosophy, the early form of science. He absorbed knowledge like a sponge, but also began forming his own ideas. He was not just learning from books, he was challenging them. However, soon after he started, an outbreak of plague forced the university to close for nearly 2 years. Most students saw this as a disruption. Newton saw it as an opportunity. He returned to his family's farm, but instead of working the fields, he carried out experiments, solved mathematical problems, and thought deeply about the nature of the world. It was during this time, in the quiet countryside, that the famous apple incident happened. Sitting under an apple tree, Newton saw an apple fall. For most people, this would have been ordinary, but for Newton, it was a question. Why does the apple always fall straight down? Why not sideways or upward? He began to think that the same force pulling the apple down might also keep the moon in its path around Earth. This thought would grow into the theory of gravity. Newton's time away from the university became the most productive period of his life. He developed the basics of calculus, a new branch of mathematics that could describe motion and change. He experimented with prisms, discovering that white light is made up of many colors, and he worked on the laws of motion, which would later become the foundation of classical physics. When the plague ended, Newton returned to Cambridge, not as just another student, but as a thinker whose ideas could reshape science. Over the years, he shared his findings, though he was often cautious about publishing too soon. He feared criticism and wanted his work to be perfect before presenting it to the world. Eventually, Newton published his most famous work, Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy, known simply as Principia. This book explained the laws of motion and the universal law of gravitation. It was not just a scientific book, it was a new way of seeing the universe. It showed that the same laws that govern falling apples also govern the movements of planets and stars. This was revolutionary because it united the heavens and the earth under the same set of rules. Before Newton, people thought that heavenly bodies followed different, almost magical laws. Newton proved that the universe was consistent, logical, and predictable. Although Newton is celebrated as a genius, his journey was not without struggles. He was known to be deeply private, sometimes stubborn, and easily hurt by criticism. He had intense disputes with other scientists, including Robert Hooke, over the nature of light, and with German mathematician Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz over who invented calculus first. Despite his sometimes difficult personality, Newton was deeply committed to truth. He once said that he felt like a child playing on the seashore, finding smooth pebbles and pretty shells, while the great ocean of truth lay undiscovered before him. This humility, despite his vast knowledge, made his curiosity endless. In his later years, Newton served as the head of the Royal Mint, where he took strong measures against counterfeiters. He was knighted by the Queen, becoming Sir Isaac Newton. But even with fame and recognition, he never lost his love for learning. Until his final days, he continued to read, write, and think about the mysteries of nature. If this story of Isaac Newton inspired you, imagine what other stories can do. Here on Clear Talk English, we share tales that not only improve your English listening, but also inspire your mind and heart. If you enjoyed this journey, make sure to hit the like button, share this video with friends who love stories, and subscribe so you never miss the next adventure. Until next time, keep listening, keep learning, and keep your curiosity alive.